Wow.
All right. We're here. It's a busy day. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on today.
Yeah. Tell me about what's going on in your world.
So, you know what? We got budgeting, we got things to figure out. I'm like trying to get on some of these insurance panels to start taking insurance through for my business, and that's just like a headache in itself. And it's been how long now? I think beginning of the year, I've been trying to get on some insurance panels. Finally got on Aetna. So we'll see how that goes. But taking insurance is a different animal in this world. So we'll see how it goes. It could be an interesting thing overall. What's happening, Bar Locker? Good to see you. Look at this. We got Bar Locker, Bar Locker. It's double Bar Lockers with hats and all the things. But good stuff. This is Health Dads. This is me, Ryan Turner. I'm up here in New York City. I'm in Manhattan right now. Live over in Brooklyn, and we got our guy Brian Lang. We got Brian down in Arizona, holding down the fort in the warm weather. We got the fall up here. I'd miss the seasons if I didn't have them, I think. Do you miss? Have you ever had seasons?
Not really. I mean, we kind of know.
Really?
I mean, we there's a few trees out here where you can kind of see the seasons and whatnot, but no, I was thinking about you guys all this morning actually, because I was thinking you mentioned something like, "Hey, Dom, if your daughter's having issues, it's $176 for a flight for me to get out there, and I can be your bruiser." And that just got that got me thinking. Well, if it's that easy to get to California, it's really easy for you guys to get to Arizona. Not to mention Dom was just in Sedona, about an hour and a half from me. So I was really thinking how fun it would be to get everybody together for like almost during the holidays or during the winter here in Arizona, a place where it's not snowy, where we can go out, we can still go hike, we still can go bike, we can still be active and go golfing or do whatever, and get together. But who knows? That's just maybe a more of a wish than anything else. But
I think it's
that's
good.
where my head was at.
Do you know? I actually have an uncle. I have an uncle that lives in, I think it's Phoenix. I have an uncle who played for the Jets for a season. That's like the thing that he owns a log. No, he owns a chinking business. A chinking business. Do you know what that is by any chance?
I'm not even gonna. No, I don't want to. No,
It sounds that way,
doesn't sound
right?
right.
I
Doesn't sound right.
I get I get where you're going. But chinking. Does anybody know what chinking is? I got 10 people watching. I got 6 people over here on My Daily Dads. We got 1 people on the VDads official and 3 people on Food Diplomacy. Does anyone, can you comment? Anyone know what chinking is? I'm sure someone's gonna
I don't think I'm
look it up,
hearing it.
but
CH
you are. You're hearing it right.
chain, like chain, like a chain.
Oh, no, you're hearing it wrong. Chinking.
King, like
Chink.
CHIN. Ah, okay.
Yeah, almost like a derogatory sounding word. But chinking. Chinking is he's up in the Pacific Northwest. And so he owns a log home chinking business. So if you look at a log home, in between the logs, there is something that is basically blocking the weather from getting through those logs there. I might even be saying it somewhat incorrectly, but chinking is that product that goes in there. So these really large log homes, they need to be protected from the weather. So anyway, he owns that chinking business and is pretty successful. But he also owns a house down in Phoenix. I'm pretty sure it's Phoenix. Gotta double check. We just, he's an uncle, but he's not estranged. We just don't see him all that often. But he bought like a summer home, or I guess a winter
Hmm.
home, down in Phoenix, and I'm pretty sure it's there. And I know he was
Yep.
trying to get like a big family reunion over there too, so it would be a good idea. But I was thinking for like the 200th episode of Daily Dads, I was like, we gotta think about doing something. But that's gonna come quicker than we actually thought. Now thinking about it, so
Yeah. What was it? 130 or something today? Like it's been
yeah,
150.
130. 130. And I actually I'm going back through. I was so out of being able to actually post a lot of these, all the content and everything. So I have to like run back. So I've run back through a full one, two, like 2.5 weeks right now. And I still have like another 2.5+ weeks to go in terms of content, which is good. It's important. Sometimes I'm like, do I actually have to do this? I don't think I have to, but it makes me feel good to get it all out there. Plus, it's content. You got to use content, you know?
There you go.
That's where we're at. Anyway, let's see how we can get through this. This is going to be a good day. I know I just got a lot on my mind right now, so I'm going to ground myself for a second. But health dads, we got three things that we're talking about usually. We want to make sure that we know kind of if there is a current state of questions, client wins, client challenges, really seeing what's going on. I have one in particular kind of happening. It's more of a, sometimes I think like it's more emotional when you kind of see a few people needing some more support and you kind of bring that support into other people and then people really want that. And then you start to find some kind of, things to correct within it. So I want to bring that up. We also have BroFit's movement of the day to make sure that we are getting you guys motivated to move your body in a purposeful way. So, we focused on hinging, we focused on posture, we focused on some full body movements, getting up off the floor. But all of these things have been extremely helpful. And then finally, we have a segment called This Way, That Way, where really it's a friendly argument, friendly debate about a certain topic. I've been thinking about switching something up a little bit, but I don't know if I have that today. We'll definitely see what's going on. So anyway, that's where we're at. So Brofit, let me know anything new from any clients, anything that happened from the health space that you saw most recently.
Well, let me just say I'm having a fantastic day so far. Up early, got a lot of steps in. I prioritized yesterday because I knew today was going to be a very busy day. So I got all my steps done pretty much before 12 o'clock yesterday so I could rest for the remainder of time all the way up until today. I had one of the dads I mentioned, I think on Tuesday, I've been trying to get a lot of the dads of the kids that my son goes to school with involved and getting them in here and working with me because, hey, that's just a way that I communicate with the best with people. And that's something that I have to offer for others. So I brought him in this morning, another dad in this morning. I got to work out with him at 8:30. And I love working with new people who are somewhat athletic and like to move and who are consistent and who have discipline and who are open and willing to go to different places and spaces, both mentally and physically. And so even keeping our exercises very simple and basic today, we were able to expand his mind and allow him to see new things and for him to get away from, I'd say, the traditional lifting that he's accustomed to, right? He'd normally go in and do like a back and bis on a Monday and chest and tris on a Tuesday and legs on a Wednesday, which is fine. He liked to have his splits and his body parts, but we, within a matter of 40-45 minutes, did a top to bottom full body workout where we increased our heart rate, increased range of motion through our joints. He felt like he was lighter on his feet. He had some more space between, whether it's reaching up above over his head or being able to squat. We were able to get into the nit and gritty in such a short amount of time. And we were able to do so because he had consistency. He already had a foundation of movement patterns. So it wasn't like reteaching him something. It was kind of just showing him something new. And so for me, it was really exciting just to have that 45 minutes to an hour to where I could just kind of let my creativity and my creative juices flow along with the things that he was looking for. So I'll actually take one of the movements that he wanted to do and how I threw some creative flow into it. And I'll be using that today for our movement of the day. But that was a real thing that kind of stuck out to me with my clients. It's just, I've talked about this before, whether it's cheerleading somebody on or having the right person in front of you to be able to work with. And so I was very excited by working with this gentleman this morning, just because he got me outside of my comfort zone. I started working out with him. I was moving, I was breathing. So when my 9:30 client came in and he looked at us, he's like, "What the hell? Oh shit, Brian, if you're looking like this, I'm in trouble." we didn't do the same things, but it's a mentality, right? To me, it's about expanding and growing. And so that was kind of the biggest thing that I took from my clients over the last couple of days or
When
today.
you're seeing a bunch of these dads, again, you mentioned that these are your dads from your daughter's team. Is that what you
My
said?
my son's school. So my son is in second grade,
Oh,
and so a lot
your
of the
son's
times we get.
older. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of the times we're getting together with families or, birthday parties or school events and stuff like that. And the parents are meeting one another. And that's one way I want to obviously expand BroFit, but also taking the concept of BroFit and being men for others and being a support and holding accountability and having this brotherhood. Um, it's just a way for me to feed off of it rather than gearing back towards the kids like I had traditionally. So
Sure.
it's been fun. It's been exciting, and more often than not, these guys need the same things that we talk about all the time. They're looking for the same things. They just want to move a little bit better. They want to feel a little bit more comfortable with their shirt off. They want to feel a little bit sexier. Um, they're not necessarily wanting to put on mass amounts of muscle, but they also don't want to hurt. They're tired of hurting.
Yeah.
They're dealing with
Yeah.
stress.
I think I'm trying to boil things down a little bit to kind of what is that what's like the main message. Like I think when it comes to nutrition, and I'm always talking with people, I mean, like there is a larger idea here and we hear it all the time. Like most individuals I know are trying that there's some sort of body fat loss goal somewhere they want to get leaner, and that I think is all well
Hmm.
and good. So, we usually will have an idea of like appropriate calorie deficit, protein, fiber, and then you can kind of start with that. There's a little bit of this like message that would be great for us to understand even further around like what does all this mean. And one thing I know in particular I've been I think has wrapped some things up together is like confidence being, I think, a product that we're trying to kind of get people to. But I think the other
Mm,
thing is talking about like what is it that most dads and most parents in general, or what is it that's going to help us make sure that we're going to be here for the long term for our kids, feel more confident, show up to our doctor's appointment, our annual doctor's appointment, and really be able to know that we've checked off, diet and lifestyle. The thing that I would love most dads, just like you're like seeing, is walk confidently into your doctor's office knowing that diet and lifestyle have been checked off, or at least you understand how to check it off, so that if something else comes up, that
yep.
you can say, you know what, doc, it definitely is not diet and lifestyle. And if there is something irregular in my labs or there's something irregular that you find, please let's not
Got it.
waste time looking back at that. And I'd like to
Hmm.
make sure that we're definitely like really getting down to the nitty gritty. Like, what if there is a cancer diagnosis? What if there's a more heart, like a more, there's a, let's just say there's, AFib that might not even be related to something like nutrition. That's what I always love to think. And so the message that
Mm,
I've found that's been really helpful, I think, there's a big message on longevity right now, which is not new in the sense of what it actually means, but it is new and I think trendy to use the
excuse me.
word longevity. Like we all want to live longer and we want to live with a better quality of life. But I know that the one thing that ties a lot of health together, and knowing that if we take care of one thing in our body, we take care of it well, and we can know if it's changing in the right, it's trending in the right direction, it's trending towards healthy. If we do that with this one thing in our body, it's likely going to benefit so many other things in our life. And this is muscle. And I think what happens is that when we start talking about muscle, I can see people's eyes glaze over a little bit because they're like, well, you know what? I don't, I don't lift. I don't go to CrossFit. I'm not looking to build muscle. I don't want to get bulky. And I'm like, but you're missing the message. Like all of that you just mentioned is completely,
Hmm.
a segment of muscle health. But really, muscle health is about maintaining muscle health. Muscle health is highly correlated. I mean, it's directly associated with things like blood sugar
Hmm.
control, cholesterol
Hmm.
control in that case as well. It's really associated with energy. It's associated because that's where we're getting a lot of our, if you can think back to biology class, that's ATP. Like all of these things, if we take care of your muscle and the message that we can give someone is towards muscle health, it's going
Mm,
to benefit so many other things. Now, I think that
tons, tons.
I know we can totally get down into the nitty gritty and we can get in the weeds with some of these things here. But I will say, there's some foundational things I'm sure, like you're mentioning these dads, just trying to kind of come back now, but you're
Mhm.
mentioning these dads, at this school and them wanting to look sexy, taking their shirt off and, all these kind of things. And of course it makes sense. Is there is there a challenge that you've seen maybe connecting a lot of these dads? Is it as simple as not enough time? Excuse me,
Mhm.
coughs everywhere today. Is it the fact that people aren't moving enough? Do they not have the knowledge? Do they not know? Are they not staying consistent enough? What is that challenge right now from
I've
your
been
side? What are you
very,
seeing?
yeah. No, it's great question. And normally I would say traditionally my answer would be different, but I think because of the atmosphere and where my kids are at, we're in kind of a nicer area. We're right next to Scottsdale. Like literally, I can hit a golf ball and I'm in Scottsdale technically. So our
Can you
school's
hit
in
a golf
Scottsdale.
ball? Are you good at hitting golf balls?
Yeah, I love playing golf. Yeah, I'm good. My dad
Nice.
developed
I'm
golf
horrible.
courses growing up, so I was forced to play golf at a very young age, and I kind of enjoyed it, but was forced to play because my dad developed golf courses. So that was that.
I went
Um,
to college on a golf course and I'm still horrible. So,
Jealous. That would have been fun.
but neither here nor there.
But
I
yeah,
digress.
but people have a higher. People are health conscious here more so. Scottsdale is kind of
I hear
known
you.
as, look good, kind of like almost not a South Beach, but people are very conscious of what their body is and how it looks, and they're willing to spend lots of money to get fixed and surgeries and this and that, or testosterone and this and that. So everybody comes from a different background, but from what I've seen, at least at my son's school, is that generally most people have some sort of fitness background. Like on Monday, the guy
Okay.
is 40, 45 years old and he still plays rugby every other month or so for tournaments and stuff like that. So I know you have to have, and he's tall and lean, so you have to have some physical aspects to still go out and hack it around and play in some rugby. You got to run, you got to be physical. You can't be a pansy. So those aspects we brought into, and each individual has their challenges, right? Like it could have been him and his lower body. It could have been the gentleman I had today and just flexibility. It could have been, and there's lots of different challenges, but what I've seen from the most part is guys needing discipline. I wrote this word down as you were talking. I wrote, and I didn't know how I wanted to tie it in, but people needing discipline. We've talked about accountability, and it's a kind of a fun word because it ties back into the V friends a little bit, but discipline is not in the V friends vocabulary whatsoever. And I think discipline is so important. And at least these guys have had a standard of some discipline. So when they've come in here, their transition has been very easy. And to me, this discipline is everything. Whether it's you talking about food and having discipline with starting with a meal plan and just seeing how it goes for 30 days and staying consistent with that because you haven't done something consistent before in your life, right? Having the discipline to go 30 days, or us in this walking challenge, having the discipline to stay consistent, where we may have days that go up and down, but what does it feel like to have discipline? Yeah, it sucks sometimes. I don't want to go walk at 9 o'clock at night. Yes, sometimes I want to sleep in past 5 o'clock in the morning. But what does discipline look like over a long extended period of time? And how does that transition to other things in your life? That's the biggest thing I think people are missing, is having the discipline, having that accountability, having that structure of being forced outside their comfort zone, but making progress, not slamming into the wall where they're just getting beat up and chewed up, but put into a position where you're dealing with your mind and your thoughts, and you're forced to sit there and be positive. Like there's no other way out of it. Um, so yeah, I've kind of had a fun challenge with the dads. And I know I've taken the topic off tangent like I normally do, but it's been fun because they've got some sort of athletic basis to them. So just having them try new things, they're like, yeah, like let me try it. I'll see how that goes. And afterwards, it's like, boom, a light bulb has been set off and like, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Like you're saying, I can come in here and be this much more efficient with my body and spend half the amount of time and get twice the amount of results. Like this is fucking wild. And I go, well, yes. But the cool thing is you've established discipline. Now we just need to move your discipline to a different path. But it's hard to create discipline for people who don't have it at all and saying, hey, let's try something and see how it goes for a while, because they'll jump off ship and they'll get back on and they'll only do it when it works out for them. And that's not how discipline works.
Yeah, it's so I think we're saying discipline. This is a little bit of, because I really want there to be a takeaway. And I'll tell you what, I feel like help me put this together, because
Yeah.
this is really what's happening with, like, I think clients too, and it definitely makes it a little bit. And I'm also trying to do one other thing over here okay, cool. If anyone is listening right now, I'd love for you to, I know people are listening, so people who are listening, drop into the comments for me. Can you drop in the first, doesn't have to be your favorite, it can be your least favorite. Favorite, least favorite, the last one you went to, the first one that you might see when you drive to work, whatever's going on. Can you guys drop in the restaurant, the fast casual spot, the fast food spot? I'd love for you to. Can you just? I just have an idea here, and I want you to put that in the chat. I want to get at least 2 ideas coming in from people in the chat. Again, I don't know what's going on with my throat today. But drop it in the chat for me. We got Dunkin' Donuts. That's you. It's already in there. I got Dunkin' Donuts in there. So I just want at least 2 more. I have a few in here, but give me 2 more from anybody else. That would be great. I think if you comment on X, it should come through if you guys are out there. So just your least favorite or your favorite or the last one you went to or the first one you see wherever. Put it in the chat for me, because I want to add something. I want to come back around to it. It's all about accountability just for a second, because the accountability thing has been, I think it is becoming even trendier, but you know what it is? I feel like the word accountability and even kind of like sustainable habits, these things are, I think, being tossed out and overused, I think, a little bit more, almost as if it's like, oh, well, you know what? That person's not able to hit their goals. They're just not accountable enough. You got to be accountable. And it's
No, they
true.
just don't
Like,
have
there's nothing
discipline.
wrong with it. And discipline too.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
got to be disciplined. But I
Yeah.
think, why, like, where does discipline fall apart for most people? Is it the fact that the goals are too difficult, and so what's
No.
happening is that they're not able to kind of stick with it? Is the discipline falling apart because they're making choices that aren't in line with what they really need? And I think that discipline, just like accountability, just like success, is a string of moments that we have to really bring together to really find that success for a lot of people. And
Mhm.
that's kind of what I want to do just here in a second. But what is going on for most people is just kind of what I really see. And I think it's like, even with like the walking challenge or the walking stuff, it gets boring at some point. I think people start to kind of like their head is just on a swivel more. They're not really seeing what's going on. They can feel overwhelmed, and I think we just have to make sure that we are finding different ways to keep people in a nuanced way, or an exciting way, just to keep them kind of motivated. That ends up being really hard, but we can't give people motivation. But it's the system, it's the way of doing it we have to get to. But
Let me ask you
why do
this.
we?
If life,
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. When life throws you something hard and difficult, are you going to always be motivated to go up and fucking do it? Right now,
Well, I think
if something drastically happened to the health of somebody in the family or your job or something of that nature that shifted momentum, what do you do? Ultimately, you have 2
this is what
choices. You give up or you push on. And so that's where I'm kind of getting at is I hear what you're saying. Maybe people aren't motivated and it's not fun and exciting for them to take walks, but who fucking cares?
No, but you know what I'm going to say is this, and this I think it's like the biggest challenge, because you're not wrong, and we are saying the same thing. But
Yes.
I think that what happens is that a lot of people will look after, or they'll try and fit into what was working or what someone is telling them should work into a lifestyle or a new phase of life that isn't going to
Mm,
work anymore. So, and I think that changes from year to year. I think it changes from season to season. I think it changes
I
from,
see what you're saying. Yeah.
like just that moment to moment. And so it's like on the fly, we have to help, I think, people make these decisions sometimes. And it is, well, and again, we can't, people can't always be there, but it's something where it's like, just take, for instance, someone who maybe is walking a ton right now, right? Or and I don't love this example, I guess, because to me it can be more than this. But someone who is walking, let's say 15,000 steps on average, right? You do pretty good with that too. But let's just say that we inject a new baby into your life right now, right? And if we inject that new
MP.
baby into, yeah, anybody right now. And so I think the idea here is, but how does that look and how is that different? Because let's say that you're doing walks on your own in the evening
Mm,
and that's your routine and that's really going and it's like easy for you to do. But now it's like people are like, but I can't walk on my own anymore. What do I do? And obviously the answer is, well, put your baby in a stroller and then you can walk with your baby and that can help. Or you can hold the baby. I've had so many nurses that yelled at me when I first held my baby. They're like, "Put that baby down." And I was like, "What do you mean?" They're like, "If you drop the baby, then we're getting sued." I was like, "Oh, it's about you, not me." And so it was really kind of this moment where I wanted to, you know, like even with MP, it's like making sure it's like, well, how are things changing? Are you asking for help? Are but
mm.
how does that really work? I think people still try and fit those expectations, whether they're trying to get back to their 23-year-old body or they're trying to think about like what worked in 2022 is going to work today or why COVID was so helpful, but it's not going to, work right now. So it's just all of these different changes that I think people aren't staying on top of. Does it make sense what I'm saying?
It does. I want to give a shout out to Neil. It's kind of crazy is we brought up Neil's name just the other day off live stream, and he's one of the gentlemen that I would like to reach out to. So Neil, expect a DM from me here shortly in the next few days. I saw a picture of you all jacked and you got shredded, your whole ribs, side ribs and abs and all that fun stuff. And I thought, hey, I need to reach out to this guy because he enjoys fitness. But yeah, what do you know? He would carry his kids around like footballs. Perfect. Like perfect. Works on your biceps, triceps, shoulder action, sculpts the bicep a little or the chest a little bit, maybe.
And maybe this is where I'm feeling this a little bit. Let me know because I love the muscle talk. Is definitely something that I connect with for sure. I feel as if, where is it that we can definitely make sure that we're keeping that message to make sure that it's more encompassing for a lot of people too, right? I don't even know if
I
that's a
lost
complete
you.
thought.
I'm
Yeah.
frozen probably too.
Oh, you are. Okay.
You'll be back in about three
Um,
seconds though. You're always back in three,
okay.
2, 1. Here he is. Are you back?
I always come back, man. Uh, I don't know
Huh?
why that was happening. But here, this is something I wanted to do because I think this is something that can resonate. And I think what I'm trying to get to is
Mm,
that what are those really digestible things that we can really share with people that are going to help. Maybe it's just a thing on my mind because the thing that I was looking at is I have a lot of people that are connecting with right now more
mm.
meal plans. And it's not like these, I don't really write meal plans to be like, if you fucking get off your meal plan, you're out, right? I'm not really so hard on it because I like to teach people how to eat instead of telling them exactly what to eat, right? But
Exactly.
there's a moment right now with a lot of my clients where meal planning is working more than the education is. And there's other parts of the year where education is definitely a lot more helpful than say, the meal plans are. So I'm feeling this little shift and it does shift at certain times of the year. And sometimes I don't
Hmm.
even know if there's something to kind of follow at the moment.
Mm,
But
mm.
one thing I wanted to try was like this here. So if I do this, give me 15 seconds. Can I do this? I can do this, right? I know I can. Yeah, here we go. So here's an idea. It's like if we are looking and we have, friends, family, whoever, and they're going to go out somewhere. And look, these are some
Ah,
fast food places. I love
ah,
going to some of these spots, right? Like Chipotle is
ah.
probably one of my best post-workout recovery spots if I'm on the go. Starbucks, I'm going to go to mainly for coffee. I'm not going to get much, but I just wrote a meal plan for someone who the guy is amazing. I love this client. He's a pretty well known broadcaster for a pretty popular TV show news channel that we have here in New York. And he's everywhere right now, especially with like everything political going on. But it's something here where his life, and he's a very muscular guy. He is health first. He doesn't want to really eat anything that is not going to make him feel good, but he finds himself mainly at places like a Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks, or there might be, even for him, I didn't even put on here, but like he finds himself at a Chick-fil-A often, and there's options at all of them. So what I wanted to do and make sure that it's something that we know can work for all people, and Neil, please jump in here because we'd love your feedback on this. But if we spin this wheel and we look at a menu, I'm curious where we go with this, because I think that a lot of people might think you can't go to these places at all. Or some people think like,
Yeah,
yeah, you know what? Anything is healthy. Like I would say that a McDonald's salad is probably one of the unhealthiest things that we can actually kind of get
yeah,
there. But let's
yeah.
just let's just see what's going on. Let's pull up the menu and let's go
Let's
through
do
it
it.
together and see how we can get there. Is this going to spin here? Let's see.
In it.
I gotta go. Hold on. I'm on the wrong window. All right. Where do you think it's going to land? Take a guess.
McDonald's. McDonald's. No, it's not McDonald's. There's only two McDonald's.
I think it's only two of each, right?
Oh, there's two
All
of
right.
each. Oh,
So this
oh,
isn't going to be a hard one, but let's take a look over here. Let me just pull up the Starbucks menu because I think this is a helpful thing for a lot of people. Like, where can we go? Like, this is a lifestyle thing for a lot of people, especially here in New York, where you don't have time. Got it. I'm not gonna ride your butt, telling you that like, well, you need to make time. And I'll be like, sure, let's work with where I'm gonna meet you where you're at. Let's go and check out this Starbucks menu, and let's actually see what's happening for a lot of people. I know we're wildly outside of what we normally do, but that's okay. So
I wish this was
agree
our.
that.
I wish. Can this be our for and against? Because this would be a great one. I want to go against
Yeah.
this so bad, and I know you want to go for it
Um,
because we're trying to
I
keep it within a
so
45-minute time.
we'll do it. But this is the thing. Yes, no, we're gonna do it. Today is just different. Today is just a different day altogether. But what I do want to say is that it's not so much that I want to be for it. It's the fact that I want to meet someone where they're at instead of telling them otherwise, right? Where are we? There we go. Can we do
I
this?
agree
Can we do
with you.
this?
I agree with you. There's choice. There's healthier choices to make along every path. And I
Yeah.
love that you're bringing this up because I had a client a long time ago that was the manager at Taco Bell. And he said, listen,
Hmm.
Brian, I eat Taco Bell 2 to 3 times a day. I get all the food for free, but here's a list. And he gave me a stack about this big of papers of all the quality and information of nutritional information of anything and everything from the cheese to the tacos to the sauces and anything in between. And he gave that to me.
Hmm.
I said, sweet. And what we went through is what you're doing right now is we went through the whole thing and we were able to make a meal plan based off of the foods that he had. So we met him with his lifestyle, and the guy ended up losing like 34 pounds, right? Dropped about 7% body fat. Um,
Yeah.
Eating the same kind of foods, but we just mixed and matched them a little bit differently that allowed him better blood sugar balance or more protein intake or more fiber, things of those natures. So I'll stop there and let you jump on board because
Well, no, I'm definitely on board, and I would still take this stance that no matter where, like what you have available to you, we're going to be able to find a solution. But what is the goal? Because I would say for me, the goal is making sure that we're taking care of your muscle first, not from a bodybuilding standpoint, from a blood sugar control standpoint, from
yeah,
making sure
yeah,
that you're going to
yeah.
have your energy throughout the day standpoint. So what does that
That's
mean?
it.
Like when we
Yeah.
say that, because for me, what I'm thinking of and what I want anyone watching and listening to really think about too is why am I choosing certain things here? And so, what I'm always going to tell someone is it's going to come down to your calories, right? It's going to come down to protein and fiber, like those three things. That's what I'm looking at. And something I don't want is this. Like if I'm looking at a menu over here, someone's gonna be like, okay, well, protein, great. I'm gonna go over here. This thing is pure protein. These egg white and roasted red pepper egg bites. Okay, great. They're going to grab a
Eh,
coffee, they're going to grab this, and they're going to tell me that they
so
ate
minimal.
breakfast. But
No, they
I'm going
didn't.
to tell you, yeah, I mean, they ate, right? But you ate less than
170
most
calories.
protein bars. Yeah.
Yeah,
And so
it's nothing.
it's so little calorie. And so I think the discussion then comes up with, well, do you actually know how much to eat? And should you choose more? The answer in most cases is yes. And where and what tells us that? So now we basically have something here where it says, well, here's our calories, but your protein's so low. Do you know how much
Mm,
protein you might need in one meal? I would argue for most people, getting close to 30 grams is going to be good. There are specific amounts that are going to be better for individuals. But here,
mm,
I'm going to say, yeah, it's so low in calorie. If you are just an average person out there, right? And that's everyone in the most special way. But if you're thinking about how much you're actually eating and what you want to do for your health, honestly, if you don't have aggressive goals right now, somewhere between 12 and 13 calories per pound. If you don't really have a lot of extra weight to lose, you're just looking for overall health, but 12 to 13 calories per pound is good. Below that's more aggressive body fat loss, and above that can be somewhere towards maintenance and even maybe even hypertrophy. So we don't have to be there, but 12 to 13 calories per pound. You might be safer at like 11.5 to 13 calories per pound too, but 12 to 13 is a great number. And I'm going to tell you that for most people, getting somewhere between say 450 and 650 calories per meal is going to be a good spot to be. And 450, if you are a small person, that might be better for you. Like a small, like you're 5'4", you're a female, you're not as active right now, maybe 450 would be a good amount of calories for a meal. If you
can
are
only
someone
absorb
who
so
is,
much.
what do you mean?
Your body can only absorb so many nutrients, minerals, and vitamins and calories. Like I can only process so much stuff at once. So if I constantly, if I ate like a 2,000 calorie meal, my body's only going to process most of some of that and store the rest of it. So
Yes and no. I mean, that's definitely a nuanced thing, but I get where you're going.
mm,
But yeah, like there's some interesting things around like if you are going to overeat, how much of that are you really going to be metabolizing? But overall, I think looking at this, it's I'm going to push someone to at
yes,
least
sorry,
450 calories, right? So it's like let's make sure that you're going to get
absolutely,
enough. I'm
absolutely.
seeing here like 30 grams of protein. I'm going to tell someone, look at this fiber. It's 0 grams of fiber, right? Making sure we get at least 5 to 7 grams of fiber per meal is going to be good. I would argue 7 to 10 can be better, but we're looking for 5 grams of fiber. What I would tell someone to do over here, and this is kind of just moving ahead, but even getting something like these egg bites if you want them, but also this spinach wrap over here. It's still 290 calories. It's not that much. So people walk into Starbucks and they grab one thing and they wonder why they're so hungry so
Hungry.
early in the morning, and they withhold food for themselves, and then they're thinking, but I ate breakfast, what's going on? And it
And they have a
becomes
big
such a
salad for lunch. And that big salad for lunch doesn't do anything to help it. It's just crunchy, spacey water. And then they get really hungry at nighttime and then they overindulge. And it's an ongoing cycle. I love where you're going with this. I love it.
um
Um,
yeah
can you
it's
back up one thing real quick? Just because I kind of I don't want to like
let
take
me know.
this to another direction, but there's a few things that scream out at me when if you can go to those egg white bites and just scroll down to the ingredients on them. Perfect. Thank you so much. Um, I had a woman that I worked with. She was 55 years old. She had lost over 17% body fat simply by changing her foods and working out. And the biggest one was her breakfast, and it revolved around Starbucks. And so that's why I started giggling when this was brought up. Um, because I do want to meet people with where they're at, but I also want to be able to help people understand and save money. And if for me, this is very, very, if I had somebody who's doing this 5 or 6 times a week, who's eating out, that's $10 every single time. They can use that money towards training or something more efficient. If I'm looking just at the ingredients on this one, just specifically, I freak out. And this is something that, as a parent, that I am really looking into. And this is something that it's not only been a big concern for me, but something that I specifically have absolutely 100% eliminated from my household, just because I want to be able to control most things. And it showing that it contains bioengineered food ingredients to me is like the big, big red flag on that. What the fuck are bioengineered food ingredients and why do they need to be in my food? Um, that's just my in my own opinion. That's just the scary thing for me. So The reason I had this lady lose so much weight is I had her make a protein shake in the morning. It's really simple. She literally took every single day. She had 7 shaker cups. She took a glob of peanut butter, threw it in each one, a glob of chocolate protein, threw it in each one, and a half a cup of oats and threw it in each one. So every day she had her protein, carbs, and fats. She literally had to go in her cabinet, grab it, add water, shake it up. She was out the door, spent almost like $1.50. I think it was $1.75 per meal rather than spending 10, 11, $12 and wasting time going through the drive through. And now I knew she was controlling her blood sugar, and we were getting away from things like bioengineered food ingredients. And I know I'm kind of crushing the whole idea of what we're talking about in meeting people, but I do want to meet people here. So I love this conversation because I do feel like when people go to restaurants, they have a choice to make. They can talk to the waitress or the waiter and say, hey, listen, if you put these things on my food, I'm going to fucking have an allergic reaction and die. You don't want that on your hands. So just don't help me out and don't do that. We have more control than we think, but we just don't have the discipline to either make those choices, find out the information, or open up our mouth to go ahead and ask for those things.
Yeah, and I think again, it's a good point to be making because I know that we definitely do have I mean, this is what I want to say. If you've been eating things just like corn, soybeans, potatoes, pineapple, if you've been eating many apples, right? Salmon, in fact, a lot of those foods have been bioengineered. So it's not as if it's a new thing, it's just a new thing to attack. And while bioengineered food likely can be coming in a lot of our foods that have been more heavily processed, it's something that we have to understand, is it really negatively affecting us? Well, it can, in the fact that kind of like where you're finding most of those, but we're already eating them. And so I'd love to know kind of like where that might end up falling in at some point. I don't think this is like much of a debate as much as it is like, I think we can look at all points of it. I think that would definitely be good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and so, and I think when we're looking at something just like these ingredients, like I do look at them. I'll tell you from at least a dietitian standpoint, I don't really care about these bioengineered food ingredients. We've been eating them for decades at this point. I mean, it's basically the same thing as crossbreeding. It's just forced crossbreeding with certain foods to make sure that it lasts a little bit longer. That's what we tend to see. The certain things that I would definitely look at would be certain things around like the carrageenan or things just like the worgum, not because of anything other than, hey, when you eat these foods, how do you feel? If someone does feel like they might have some IBS type of symptoms, those tend to be some of the big players in that kind of thing. But overall, it's if you eat it and it's not hurting you, most of the time it's going to be perfectly okay for you to kind of deal with. And I know that Neil's over here talking about, I think, right, Neil, did Neil say something? Dirty bulks, you mentioned dirty bulks, hydrogenated oils. So yeah, the hydrogenated oils. And if you want to think about what a hydrogenated oil is, just think about baked goods, anything that's going to come in a box, a bag, those kind of things. It's an oil that has basically just been overheated, modified just to be more shelf stable. So when we eat more whole foods, you're going to find less of those things. And then that is going to be usually higher fiber, it could be higher protein in some cases. And that can just make us feel good because we're eating whole ingredients at that point. And I think there's a huge benefit to that too. What I would just want to make sure is that we're not over demonizing certain foods, especially when we have people that might need to go eat these things or it's the only thing available to them. But more importantly, where are we falling in this like pyramid of prioritization? Like, are we going to worry about things just like the bioengineered foods first? Are we going to worry about the hydrogenated oils first? Or are we going to worry about making sure that the overall energy intake and protein and fiber is high enough so that we keep someone satiated, give them enough energy throughout the day to recover, to think, and all that kind of stuff? And then we can get down to the nitty gritty later.
All of
It's
it.
again meeting someone where they're at. I feel like someone else can definitely be like really caught up in some of these challenges here. So
100%.
maybe we definitely
Absolutely.
can start there.
And that's the
But
fun thing about all of these topics is meeting people where they're at. It really depends on the client. Like again, Mrs. Jones, who's 67 years old, is going to be having so many different topics of discussion rather than 23-year-old Tony, who's trying to, make and be a senior in his college sports. So that's why I love these things. And I love that you always bring it back up in terms of meeting somebody where they're at, because it really is revolved around the client and specifically where not only what works for them, but what they're capable of doing and their lifestyle. And the lifestyle is really the one that's ongoing and changing. And so to have an education like you're talking about and being able to make educational choices is so advantageous.
Yeah. Look, I know I definitely took it in the wrong direction, but yeah, we're both talking the same language, and we want to meet them where they're at. And I think sometimes I, what is it I feel like, Bri? Help me get this thought out. My thought is that I think that we get so much in the weeds, personally speaking, and then I think that it's something where we kind of forget. It's like because there was someone recently I was talking to saying a bunch of things, all correct things, but at the end of my statement, they basically were like, "Well, wait, hold on. Is is chicken a protein? Is avocado a protein?" And I was thinking, "Oh, fuck, like I
Damn
definitely
it.
messed up." It's just like it's like, okay, God, like I need those reminders sometimes. And sometimes the reminder is like, I just needed to know what to eat at Starbucks. That's all I needed.
Yeah.
And you know what the scary thing is? It's like people will end up, I think, paying a good deal of money to work with me. And then there's certain points where I'm thinking like, I think you're not getting as much value because I'm not, it's not that I feel like I listen well, but sometimes you just got to make sure that I'm giving the information out that I need to. So
Mm. A spoonful of Greek. It's not Greek yogurt.
is it cottage
It's
cheese?
not. It is. Funny story. My father and my old trainer, I got to meet him again. I used to work out with the owner of Shamrock Farms, Kent Shamrock. And so they have Shamrock Farms out here in Arizona. This is one of my favorite snacks of all time, just a low fat cottage cheese. Again, my mind works in terms of proteins, carbs, and fats. As simple as that. So whenever I'm eating, you guys just saw me plowing through like a half a tub of this and a whole bunch of grapes. Okay, so my grapes are my carbohydrates. This is going to be my protein. Okay, so you can see there's 12 servings in it, about a half a cup. I at least had 1.5 cups, if not 2 cups. So I had somewhere between 36 and 48 grams of protein in that serving. I got plenty of carbohydrates. There's 5 carbohydrates, so multiply by three. I had 15 grams of carbohydrates plus all the raisins or the grapes, excuse me. So I had plenty of calories. So I'm missing one thing. I'm missing some good healthy fats. If I go and I take a look, there's only 2.5 grams of fats. So I needed to make sure that I have a healthy fat. If I don't have a healthy fat, my blood sugar is going to be out of balance just a tiny bit. Probably not too bad right now, um, but I'm going to get hungry again. I'm going to get hungry because this is going to keep the fat keeps me full, and I'm going to get hungry again. So I just need to make sure that I balance that out. I might go inside and take a tablespoon of coconut oil, or I could do a glob of peanut butter, or I may go grab a half an avocado of some sort. But that's what I'm
Can I
snacking
can
on.
I can I ask why you wouldn't just go with full fat Greek yogurt or full fat cottage cheese?
Yeah, because sometimes I like to add chia seeds into there, and I've always keep it simple, stupid. We've heard that terminology. Keep it simple, stupid. And so when I worked with my clients, and the best way that I learned about food and understood about food was just breaking them down in their 3 categories and simplicity. So proteins, carbs, and fats. And I learned which foods were those primarily. And I try to get those foods to stay primary. So if instead of what I mean by that is I would pick a food that was a primary source of protein rather than a mixture of all three. Because if I had something of a mixture of all three, it was harder to gauge my macros. Whereas if I had just a protein source that was all protein and it was lean source, so I had no fat, no carbs, then I could move on to my carb source and then I could move on to my fat source. That's just how I work. But yeah, I could definitely add a regular cottage cheese and I wouldn't have to think about it. 100%.
Yeah, I am. Is it good? Is it good culture? Is that my favorite? That's what I usually get whenever I walk from Manhattan back to Brooklyn. I always stop. There's There's Italy, which is just like halfway kind of to the bridge, and I walk over the bridge and go home. But they have
Hmm.
cottage cheese in there, and I'm always grabbing that, and then I just eat a tub of it. I'm always thinking, what's someone thinking when they see me walking down the street in Manhattan, just eating
Fucking
a tub of Greek
delicious.
yogurt? I'm like,
Delicious.
this
But
is,
you
I
can
think
add
it's good.
so many things to it. You can add almonds into it. You can add watermelon. You can add just like literally
I
any
dump
fruit.
pineapple right on top.
Fuck yes, absolutely. Oh my goodness. Like to me, it's like having Greek yogurt. And for a kid who is limited on milk and any type of dairy products as a kid, I can't get enough of it now. So I
Yeah.
love it. It's a quick, easy snack. It's affordable. It's not super expensive. I don't have to think. I don't want to think. I don't. That's the hardest part about me cooking dinners is there's nothing complex because I don't want to have to think. There's literally a protein source, a carbohydrate source, and then usually my fat source is mixed in because I'm cooking with something, or I'm using some sort of oil, or I'm adding it as the extra, for extra flavor, or throwing an avocado on the side. Or we're using ghee or butter for the fat. So the
I
simple
hear you, man.
simple is sometimes easy. The more complex we make things, it's hard. That's why I always try to dumb it down to like a kid version of things, just because the people have a hard time staying disciplined with simple things, let alone complex things. That's why I say, can you do these 15,000 steps for a fucking month period of time or whatever your goal is for yourself? Can you do that? Can you actually have the discipline to do that? And if you do, then what's the next step? You can build on from that and move on. But if you don't build this foundation of some sort of discipline, it's hard to move on, right? And whether it's food or if it's exercise, like why teach the person a clean and jerk and a snatch when they're unable to hinge, when they're unable to squat, right? Why teach somebody, I guess, I don't know, like the things that you were talking about, the guarana gum, I think, or the
Oh, the Gorgon?
sure, yes, like some of those things, right? Some people might look at the ingredients and be like, "Oh my God," you're like, "Well, Mrs. Jones, you're 37% body fat. That's not the thing that's getting you." Like, let's be real. But they get so stuck into it, right? It just tells me, "Hey, your discipline sucks, and you're just worried about these other things that just stop, slow it down, keep it simple. Can you do this little thing for this short period of time? Yes, beautiful. Let's use that, build from there. But if you can't do this, all this other shit doesn't mean anything."
Um,
But
all right, Bri, I know I took this in different directions today. I do have
that's
to
okay.
run to a client right now. I think it's a good
Get
discussion.
it.
It brings me back to, I think, kind of bringing some of these practical, things in here. Like, let's look through a menu, just kind of see what we're going to order, what someone could definitely order, and kind of build it out. It made me think recently. I just started trying to start a new social media, I guess, kind of thing called counter arguments about like just bringing up a quick topic, talking about it, letting people kind of like, if there's an argument to it, bring it up. If it's not, let's deal with it. So uh, we'll see if we can kind of bring those things up there. Let me run though. Let's call that a day for right now. We'll definitely be back. We'll be back Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We'll get back to Bro Fit's movement of the day. We'll bring up other topics for sure. We have a few from yesterday from people too, and maybe we'll do. Well, I think we'll definitely do some more menu investigating for people too. All right, cool,
Sounds
man.
awesome.
Brian, want to
Appreciate it.
sign us off?
Don't be afraid to be great, guys.
All right, guys. Take care. Thanks for checking in, Neil. Love you, buddy. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.